Hello, Spirit Cafe. It's your humble host, Tamara Zoner, ever more humbled by the fact that I just recorded an entire intro and outro and forgot to hit record. Live and learn. Today, we're having a beautiful conversation with Yulia Azriel. She is a life purpose clarity coach and breathwork trauma healer and the founder of the Confident Healer Academy. And just one of the loveliest human beings I think that I've ever been in the presence of. She's beautiful inside and out. She just creates this, or she just has this energy that creates for me, and I am certain for others, a space of safety, of love, of courage, where you get to just show up as you are. And you'll hear in this episode me sharing, things that I probably wouldn't have shared if it weren't Yulia on the other side of this camera, on the other side of the screen. But she makes it easy to feel safe, to share, to dig in. And isn't that what we're all doing here on Spirit Cafe anyway? You're listening to these conversations because you're a person who's willing to dig in. So dig into this episode and I will see you on the other side. Welcome to Spirit Cafe, Yulia. How are you today?
Hi, Tamara. I'm really wonderful. I'm so happy to be here with you in the cafe.
Yay! Awesome. Well, let's just begin by you sharing a little bit about who you are. First, I'd like to hear who you are before we hear what you do. And, in a few minutes, tell us also how you got to be the you of today.
What a fun question. So many directions I could go, right? About who we are. We all can tell so many stories about who we are. So what's the core of it? What's the essence of it? I would say I am a spiritual being. I am a seeker. I'm a lover of life. I am a lover of nature and animals. I am a lover of depth and growth. I actually did a little bit exercise just yesterday and uncovered for myself that my top value is growth, which I didn't know. It makes sense, but when I really put it, yeah, growth is at the top of what I value. And growth on every level, growing as a spiritual being, growing in the depth of my ability to love, growing my ability to express myself fully, growing empathy, and growing my ability to connect with others and feel the depth of humanity and the expanse of spirituality that we all share, and also being able to just see the spectrum. I love variety. I love diversity. I love getting to know all the different nuances of how do we make up this beautiful palette of humanity.
That's beautiful. So now I'm really curious. I love to know, like, where did you start spiritually? Were you raised with a strong spiritual base, or did you grow into that as you grew up and got older and got away?
Oh my goodness. I would say I was the furthest away from spirituality in my upbringing. I grew up in the Soviet Union with the parents who are, I would say I think they openly would say too that they're atheists.
Okay.
But scientists, very deeply passionate scientists.
Okay.
And I started my life that way too. I felt like, well, that's what I do. I just follow my parents' footsteps, and I went into biology and then biochemistry, neuroscience, soil science. So I studied all kinds of things in undergraduate school and graduate school. And then I was actually in grad school when I was feeling completely empty and just empty on the inside. And I didn't know what was missing. I kept like climbing that ladder and going for my career as a scientist in the PhD in biochemistry. But I felt deeply disconnected from myself and also very, very insecure. no matter how many degrees I got and how many, it looked really good on the outside. I was in this one of the best laboratories that was synthesizing drugs to treat diabetes, funded by Merck. And
Okay.
I felt, wow, I was supposed to be doing really well, but I felt so disconnected. And so in that moment, I found my first yoga teacher and the first class, which wasn't really a traditional like class. It was in a small home of mom and daughter, and like they would offer 3 times a week and for 3 hours every time. It was a 3 hour immersion. And after the first drop like that, I I felt like, what just happened? I feel like there was this, as I'm speaking right now, I'm feeling like all this tinkling moving through my body. And like I felt I was floating and something like that depth that I couldn't even explain what it was, but the connection with the teachers and the love that I felt from them, who are still my dear, dear friends. I felt like something just happened. I don't exactly know what happened, but I'm going to continue and keep coming. And that led to me dropping out of my PhD program.
Okay.
And
That was a big choice. So it must have been a very strong feeling that you needed to do something different.
yeah, and it wasn't like really my choice. I actually flunked the qualifying exams to continue on that track because I was obviously something was shifting internally, and I those values just no longer, I could not spend like that much time in the lab anymore. I was all consumed, felt like I was consumed by, in the best of ways. I was absorbed to the point that it was a reevaluation of values that I didn't even know what values even were at that time. But there was a undeniable pull to go to follow that feeling.
I love that. And then to flunk, it's like perfect. It might not have felt that way in that moment, right? But perfect. Now I have to go through this different door, right? It's
Yeah.
like the universe just gifted you, the freedom to explore instead
Yeah.
of
And
follow the path
it,
of the
it,
parent.
it felt devastating at first. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, there was a feeling like something just fell off of my shoulders, but to even let my parents know that by that time, I think it was 20 years of science career, like all of a sudden dropped. And then it took a lot of courage because I felt a lot of pushback. Even for me to let my parents know that I'm going to get certified as a yoga instructor and then keep coming back and again, there was a lot of pushback and like, what are you doing? You're crazy. You're all these years.
Mhm.
This you'll never have a career out of this. You'll never be able to support yourself. This is you're just on a fantasy. And also they were super scared that I was going to get into cult.
Okay.
That was like a big thing, just so much resistance. And I had to, it was all internally also resistance of, and all of my worst fears came up of fear of being rejected or disapproved and judged. Like all those fears I had to really face them.
Yeah.
Still face.
Still facing them. Yeah. How is it different as you face them today versus however many years ago that was when it was all coming up and it was all a swirly whirlwind of change, fundamental change on a soul and physical level? How is it different for you today when you have the resistance and you feel into it and you experience it? How is it different?
Such a good question. I'm reflecting. Yes, it's 15 years later now. And I feel what is different is that now I know very clearly what my soul's mission is. And when resistance comes up, or when I feel fear of like different kinds of fears now, for example, now there's a fear of standing out and be too shiny.
Yes, I understand that one.
before it was a lot more about, oh, I so wanted the approval. And now it's not as relevant anymore because I'm so deeply rooted in knowing what my soul came here to do. It's a whole different courage. I think it's on a different level. There's courage to, yes, bring it on.
Yeah.
I'm ready for another up leveling and another level of challenge to take on.
I love that. And how did you get clear on your soul's mission? What was that process like for you?
Such a good question. Another really good exploration. I don't think it was like a moment. Honestly, I don't think it was one moment, but there was a whole synchronicity of moments where I know, just like my top value is growth. I know now that my mission is to grow as a soul and to see obstacles. So that's maybe the core of it. Now I see any obstacle as a challenge that helps my soul to grow.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
process of that, I think for me, has been over and over again. Whenever I run up against something that's super thick material, like something really challenging, I know that when I go through that challenge, what it feels like on the other side. Like on the other side, there's another level of freedom, another level of expansion and lightness and openness and my heart opens more and more whenever I go through that tunnel.
Yeah.
Or sometimes one of my clients just recently named it as a tornado. Don't be afraid of the tornado, go through the tornado.
Yeah. It does. And I think it helps so much to be able to look back and go, oh, I've gone through that tornado and that tornado and that tornado. And each time I'm clearer and more focused on all the things that really matter, in my own experience, in your own experience. It's like the tornado is destructive, but so is metamorphosis. And it's this natural destruction so that we can get to that next level of ourselves.
Yeah. I guess you're describing it. I know how well you know this process. Can I ask you a question too?
Yeah, absolutely.
What has been one of your biggest tornadoes that you learned to walk through and alchemize and turn into the gift that you know yourself even more and your bigger self?
Gosh, I think for me right now, like three of the biggest tornadoes are popping into my head. One was my divorce, where I got to the point where I could no longer give myself away and be in pain like that. And so that tornado. And then COVID was a tornado where I had this another choice to make of staying somewhere where I had outgrown or making a move for myself toward myself, which is again what I did. I left a position in, the one that was making me money, the one that was secure and solid, but it wasn't serving me anymore, and it was actually hurting my soul. I was out of integrity again. And then now I would say, I'm in this tornado of motherhood with the three teenagers, and really realizing as my youngest starts high school and my oldest just finished high school, it's this is an unexpected tornado I'm going through right now. And it was like, you prepare for this as a mom and they're going to grow up, but that's the whole purpose. But currently I'm in the tornado, Yulia, of feeling my oldest and her terror of being an adult, but knowing she has to go now in a couple of months on her own, and me going, holy crap, my babies are at this point where now they're grown up, almost 14. One is almost 17, one is 18. And I'm like, I've set all the things in place. So it's not like I'll feel lost or purposeless when they're all grown up and gone, because I have deep purpose in my work.
Yes.
And yet it's a tornado that's causing me a lot of resistance in my work. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this because I just want to be with them. I just want to like grasp as much time with them as I can and make sure I'm doing this job of motherhood at this kind of the end point, right? The final stretch of them being at home with me. And so, yeah, I'm like in the thick of a tornado right now.
Yeah. Oh, and you showing up so authentically and beautifully and courageously. Just like this morning, you had to shift gears, be with your son, and I'm just in awe of how you're able to show up for yourself so
Mhm.
fully and for your purpose so fully and be such a rock star mom.
Thank you. I think that if I didn't show up for myself so fully, I wouldn't be able to be that mom, that rock star mom. I like that. I'm gonna get a t-shirt.
Yeah, you deserve it.
Oh, I love it. It's so beautiful to be in company and communion with you in this conversation. It's really helping me to like see through the tornado to like, oh, it's okay because what you're doing in this world is what you're meant to be doing. And so I too will get to the out of the eye of the tornado and be back feeling the peace after the calm after the storm, right? There's calm after the storm when you get to see the rainbows and you get to see, oh, well, I didn't need that stuff anyway. That stuff that's been destroyed, I didn't need it anyway,
Yeah.
right? And like you said, it's lighter after
Yes.
through it. So you've gone through yours and you had this period of resistance and shifting and releasing the old science background and moving into yoga. And then we can shortcut your path to today, where you
Mm.
now run this confident healer academy. And in my own experience, what that tells me is that there was a time when you did not feel confident about being a healer.
Exactly. Exactly. Wow.
About
It's
that.
it's our Shiro's journey. What That's exactly it. I'm running Confident Healer Academy because a younger version of me felt the farthest away from confidence. And I always had self-doubts and insecurities and questioning and looking, am I okay? Looking for that approval. It's like growing up that way. And yeah, when I first stepped into holding the space of a healer for others, it was shaky. I had to really navigate and learn what it's like to trust myself.
Mhm.
And that's really at the core of, I feel like, being able to hold that space for others to tap into their own healing abilities, because I'm not the one who is healing, right? I am creating the container and holding the safe and brave space where women can deepen their trust in themselves and deepen their intuition and the ability to trust their intuition. And like just like you navigating through life and challenges of life and motherhood or being a crone and all those transitions and changes with as much grace as possible. So yeah, it is really a journey of, it's like so cyclical to me and also
Yes.
spiraling up. The reason why I'm holding Confident Healer Academy is because I needed it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have those role models growing up who could teach me that I actually have incredible wisdom within myself and that I don't need to look on the outside to tell me what's the right choice, how to navigate that path the journey that we're all walking.
I love that. And as you're speaking on that, I'm thinking how interesting it is. You know, I was raised in the Midwest of the United States. You were raised in the Soviet Union, and what a different cultural experience that is. And yet, our soul stories are so similar in the journey that we move through to find ourselves and our calling and to then live it, and the confidence that we all have to build and the courage that we have to cultivate in order to do what we needed. Right? Because same, people ask me, well, how did you get into happiness? Because I was deeply unhappy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I knew that happiness was possible. I could remember feeling it, and I just needed to get back to it. And
Uh,
then on an even bigger level so that I could teach it to my children and then teach it to the world, because that's how I believe we make a better world.
mm, yes.
Okay,
It's
tell us.
beautiful. So I want to hear so much more about how you turned on the happiness switch within yourself, and how did you actually recognize that the environment that you were growing up in and the internal state that you were in growing up, it wasn't the dead end. That wasn't the reality that you had to continue for the rest of your life.
I think there's something in many of us, and I won't say all of us, because I think there are people in this world right now who are just where they're supposed to be. They're on their journey too, and it looks different from ours. So some of us are on this deeply spiritual growth path, and we might look at other people and go, but they're not growing and they're not moving and they're not connected to their soul. And yet, yes, they are. They're here too, doing what they're supposed to do. And maybe it's just that they're a static piece for us to reflect on our own growth with. And so everybody is in the journey, on the path, right where they chose to be when they committed their soul to this particular time on earth. That's how I feel. And so, and yet we souls who are like, let's grow, we call to one another. This is why we found each other, right? This is why you and I share space in our business program together, because there's a bigger, deeper, louder calling for those of us on similar paths. And we have to, it's almost like a beacon, right? We have to find one another because
Yes.
we can't do this alone.
Oh my gosh, my whole body is lit up right now in this moment. I feel like, yes, Tamara, I found you and I recognized you.
Yes.
And when we see each other, yeah, like lights that we can, lights, I recognize you, I see you, and we're here to support each other, continue to rise and expand in our growth, and continue to tap into deeper potential that we came here to actualize.
Yes. So when you work with women, tell us more about who comes to you, what the container is. I want to know more about your Confident Healer Academy.
Hmm. So the women who really resonate, who come to me, they have been on a spiritual journey for a while, most of them. They are seekers. A lot of them have background in yoga. They're either yoga teachers or meditation instructors or coaches of some modality. All kinds of energy healers, Reiki practitioners. And they want to feel more confident. They have all these tools and modalities. Some of them are, a lot of them actually are not practicing in those modalities, but they want to, in their life, to be a confident healer for themselves first. So that's really the first kind of pool, is that they want to feel confident within themselves, that they can navigate through life with more grace and more ease and balance and joy. Joy is a big draw. They want to feel more worthy of joy.
Yes.
Some of them feel like they're not worthy of living a joyful life and more purposeful life and more in integrity. What you were talking about, those two tornadoes that you had, it's how aligning with the integrity of their soul, of what they're meant to be here in this life. And so the whole container is all about how can you align your life to be in integrity with your deepest longings, your desires, and what your needs and your calling.
So beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's such a sacred space that you're creating. And I know when I see you do, what's really a promotional video or whatnot, it doesn't feel promotional. It feels so authentic, and you're creating such a loving space. And I love the word container because it really feels, and I'm not even in it, but it really feels like you are holding the truth.
That resonates. Truth bumps coming through, so that is true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you
Oh
for
gosh, I
seeing.
love talking to you. Like, good stuff comes out of my mouth in your space. So I can only imagine so tell us a little, yeah, where do women start with you? Now we kind of know where they start with you. Like, they have this longing and they know what they want. They just don't know quite how to get there. And then how long is the container? 9 months, a year?
It's a year, it's a 12-month. Yes, it's a journey. Yeah, we go through the whole journey, and we start with clarity of vision. We also learn how to set very healthy boundaries. So, because that's a really big part of it, just as you're describing your challenges with your sons,
Yes.
how that energetically boundaries are so important. As we grow, we have to learn how to set boundaries that help us. It's like a river that needs very solid riverbanks
Yes.
for us to flow and be feminine. So there's a lot of feminine practices. There's a lot of embodiment practices. We learn how to trust our bodies and how to feel our emotions. There's a lot of exploration on how to befriend all parts of ourselves. All of our emotions are our friends that help us navigate through life with integrity and know our needs, know how to ask for what we need, and how to be courageous. And breaking, really unearthing all of those beliefs, like lots of beliefs that women hold, limiting beliefs that are deep rooted in the subconscious and also connected to the body, where there are blocks in the body. So we clear it. There's a lot of clearing that happens so we can be free and express ourselves and feel yeah, just that feeling of freedom, of expressing ourselves and being exactly
Mm,
the
so good.
embodiment of love.
Yeah, and it feels so safe the way that you describe it. I think a lot of women struggle in feeling safe to
Yes.
do and feel and be all of those things that you just described, because we're afraid of being rejected, because we've struggled in our childhood, because we didn't have an example.
Yeah.
Most of our mothers' generations, they weren't free.
No. Yes.
Weren't free to be themselves.
It's free to feel, free to feel. Right. It's okay to feel, and that we don't always feel the same. We don't have the same backgrounds. Yeah. So safety is absolutely my intention, is to hold that safe and loving and judgment-free container that everybody can really feel that I belong here, and I'm seen, and I'm recognized, I'm valued, and I can express myself for exactly how I feel.
I love it. I'm so grateful that there are incredible souls like you doing this work in the world, because you're making such a vital impact. And I think generations down the line, right? Great. It's great for right now, but it's even better for those women's children and grandchildren, because they're going to be raised differently than we were.
Yes.
Right? They won't have to work so hard to be who they are, because they'll be raised by people who already accept them and their journey.
Yes. So much of it is generational healing. Absolutely. You really tapped into it. I don't even talk up with you much, but it's all about generational healing and bringing healing to the past, to our ancestors too, because when we are healing ourselves, we free and liberate past generations and future creating a new trajectory into the future.
So good. Okay, so how do we find you? How do people sign up for your programs? Tell us what's going on for you that people can have access to the beautiful energy, encourage, and such a example of beingness that you are, Yulia.
So the website where women can check it out is gentleheartpurpose.com. And I also offer one-on-one. Sometimes I create certain times of the year when I open for women to connect with me one-on-one in the confidence breakthrough session. And during that time, we explore whether being part of the year-long journey, because it's a journey, if that's the right next step, because sometimes women choose to work with me privately before joining the year-long one-on-one. I have healing immersions. I do all kinds of beautiful, juicy work, including my pool that I'm looking at right now. We do deep healing of the way that we are born into this life, because the way we are born very much determines how we live. So I help women heal from the very beginning, starting at the womb.
Wow, we need to have another conversation around that. I want to know more about that. So good. Okay, what else do we need to know? Tell us everything else you want us to know that you can do in like 5 minutes.
I just want to leave women who are watching us with some words of encouragement and inspiration that you are worthy. You're worthy of beautiful, fulfilling, purposeful life. And no matter what challenge, what tornado you're going through right now, my encouragement to you is to, first of all, connect with yourself, with your heart and with your body and with your breath. Trust that the breath is that close to you. It's your greatest friend. And when you're in connection with your breath, life is a little easier and more fun. And you're in touch with your own inner self. And the second part is look for the container that resonates with you, whether it's working with Tamara or myself in the Confident Healer Academy, or finding a mentor and a group of souls where you feel seen and acknowledged and you can be fully yourself.
Yeah, it's so important that we find those spaces and communities that allow us to simply show up as is.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Yulia, so much for your gorgeous time today. I love being in this space with you. I can only imagine what it would be like for a whole year in your container. I think my heart might blow right out of my chest after every session. Thank you for being
Tamara, I feel the same. It's like soul to soul recognition. I feel uplifted and inspired every time I'm with you in our bigger container whenever I connect with you one-on-one.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much. All right, I will put all the information for people to reach you in the notes below or next to wherever this shows up, and reach out to Yulia because as you can see, she's something very, very special in this world. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here, viewers, listeners. You are deeply appreciated. And if you felt a stirring in your own heart while you were watching or listening today, please hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe. Give us a comment and let us know what was the biggest insight or aha that you had for yourself during this episode, or what was something that you heard that really pulled at your heart and resonated for you. And then you might even share this with someone else who could use some heart expanding energy today. I know this conversation with Yulia expanded my heart and opened me back up because I'm in that tornado and I'm feeling a lot of resistance, even to this beautiful podcast that I love so much. So today I feel more centered and more on path because of my time with Yulia. I can only imagine, for real, what a year with her would do. You don't have to imagine. You can click one of the links in the show notes and check her out, visit her, maybe book some time with her if her times are open when you're hearing this. Either way, I hope that you have a beautiful day and I look forward to speaking with you again soon.